Ever since I was a kid and played Shinobi for the first time at my local pizza place, well, I knew there was something special. And then later at my local arcades, I was absolutely blown away whenever I played games like Outrun, Space Harrier, Afterburner, Golden Axe, and many others. I knew at that point I was going to be a Sega fan for life. And then whenever Sega started releasing home consoles, that's when I got really excited. And so the first system that I played was the Sega Master System. Now, I don't remember owning this myself, but my friends did. And even though I had a Nintendo Entertainment System, as with most kids did, I was really interested in the Sega Master System because technically I think it was more powerful than the NES. It actually has more colors and other improvements, but it didn't beat Nintendo because Nintendo just had so many amazing games. And then came the Sega Genesis. Whenever I got this with the pack-in game of Altered Beast, I was absolutely blown away. I was thinking to myself, is this the arcades? I cannot believe I'm playing Altered Beast at home because the graphics and sound on this was just light years beyond anything I played on my Nintendo or on the Sega Master System or even on the TurboGrafx. This was truly next level and, well, Genesis does what Nintendo don't. However, my love for that and just my love for arcade games, it never went away, and I actually wanted more of an arcade experience at home. So then naturally these game systems got more and more powerful, and then of course I had to get a Sega Saturn whenever that was released. And wow, I was really happy to get this because this was technically a very powerful system, especially compared to the older arcade games that I was used to playing. And even though there were powerful systems like the Sega Saturn and the more powerful Sony PlayStation, for some reason it didn't feel arcade perfect. Even though some of the games released on here could definitely do it arcade perfect, I never felt like I was getting an arcade system at home. And about the only other way I felt that I could get that was getting something like the Neo Geo, but that was super expensive. But that day would come and it would be on 9/9/99 here in the United States. And that very special day was the release of the Sega Dreamcast. This is the system that I've been waiting for. And let me tell you, if you were there around that time whenever this was released, it was a super exciting, crazy time for all the Sega fans out there. And whenever I got my hands on the Sega Dreamcast, and I had bought like 2 games with it. I got Soul Calibur, which was absolutely incredible, and Sonic Adventure. I knew at that point, this is the system for me, especially with Soul Calibur, because this was a game that was better than the arcades, and it produced graphics that were just out of this world. And the system itself, I think it had everything that gamers wanted. You know, it had 4 ports on there, so it's great to have multiplayers without having to get an additional multi-tap. And also it included other new technologies like a modem for internet play. You know, the Sega Dreamcast was way ahead of its time. And even the controller itself, I'm not the biggest fan, but it did have the VMU with the display, which was really different at the time. And the games themselves, just normal jewel cases and stuff. I was just really so happy that with this system, I finally got the arcade experience at home. I would say this was the system for arcade lovers because most of the games that were released, especially the best games, were from Sega, and the hardware itself was, I think, close to Sega Model 3. So you were getting pretty much arcade perfect on most games, especially if they were based upon Naomi board. And even the ones that weren't quite arcade perfect, for some reason, it kind of felt like this was the best arcade experience. And man, I enjoyed every moment with this system. And I know this might be a controversial thing for some people, but out of all the game systems I've ever owned, this is my favorite. Mainly because I am a fan and lover of Sega arcade games. And man, this was, in my opinion, the best way to experience it. But unfortunately, over the years, especially with the release of the Sony PlayStation 2, this was basically the death of Sega Dreamcast, but also as Sega as a hardware manufacturer. And as I recall, around 2001 was when they discontinued the Sega Dreamcast, and then Sega became just a publisher versus a hardware manufacturer. And that's really a sad day, you know, but I'll never forget the Sega Dreamcast. I still have it, I still love it, and I still play Sega Dreamcast games to this day, most of it being through emulation. And for, you know, the few games that, you know, still have physically, but the Sega Dreamcast will always go down in history for me as one of the greatest game systems ever made, at least in my opinion. And also 9999 will be a day that I will never forget. So if you actually had any thoughts on this or any of your own experience with the Sega Dreamcast, be sure to leave in the comments area below. So as always, if you did get value out of these videos, be sure to share, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you on another episode. Hey geeks, if you are a brand new creator and you simply want something easy to get you started, well, I got something for you with my Creator Starter Kit. This is a super simple step-by-step guide that's going to take you from having no channel to developing your very first YouTube channel, along with ideas, thumbnail designs, and other creator tips, including marketing. And the best part is, all of this is free. Simply head over to the link below, check out my page, and get started creating.